Do you have a particularly stubborn partner that you're trying to save the relationship that you have together with them? But it's just so difficult because they are so stubborn. They're so closed off. They're so much of just a flat out no to anything that you're trying to suggest or say to work through the issues. Well, if that's the case, then this video is for you, and please stay tuned through to the end because we're going to be covering some very powerful things, and I'm going to be giving you some resources to help you move forward with your particularly stubborn partner. Hey there, it's Clay with modernlove.life. Now, if you have a stubborn partner, you may have done some other research around on the internet, and you may have come to the conclusion that you need to use this strategy called the no contact rule, or you need to somehow limit your contact with them, or you need to somehow play games with them to make them miss you, to make them think that you have the upper hand, or to make them think that they don't have any power or control over you, or whoever cares the least controls the relationship. Well, this is all flat out wrong, and we're going to be covering in this video 5 powerful strategies that you can use to save your relationship with a stubborn partner without having to use any of these mind games, without having to use any sort of manipulation, without having to use no contact or anything else like that. So the first thing that we really need to do in all of this is to make sure that our partner and us are on the same team. Now, of course, this can be particularly challenging if they're very stubborn, they're very convinced that the relationship is over, they're very convinced that there is nothing to talk about, nothing to do, nothing to discuss, that this is all basically done and we just both need to part our separate ways. But this is very much indicative of the idea that both of you are not on the same team. That is to say, if they are feeling this way, if they are this heavily stubborn, then they do not see you and them as being aligned in some sort of way. They do not see that what you want is probably aligned with what they want. In fact, they probably think that you have some sort of agenda of trying to save the relationship, of trying to force the relationship to work despite what their own feelings, what their own emotions, what their own sentiments might be about this. And this is a very difficult place to be in, because as long as you are prioritizing the relationship over understanding them, then you're going to have a hard time really getting on the same team. And what is going to work better is if we just dial back the romantic pressure and to really get in on the same team with them. So romantic pressure is really just the idea that every interaction that we have is seen through the frame of this is somehow related to us getting back together. Where is this going? What is this leading up to? Are we going to get back together? Are we going to not get back together? Are we going to work out our differences? Are we not going to work out our differences, etc.? That might be where you are at right now, mentally and emotionally. That's not where they're at, and that's not what they need right now. Now, please stay tuned through to the end, because we're going to be giving you some resources specifically on how to get on the same team and how to reduce that romantic pressure. But we'll get there when we get there. By the way, if you do like these videos, it would really be a huge token of appreciation from me if you would just gently tap the thumbs up button to express your support of this channel. Anyway, moving right along. The second strategy that you are going to want to employ to make things work with a stubborn partner is to make sure that the two of you have really good communication. Now, communication, I think, is a widely understood important factor in a good relationship, but still a lot of people struggle with it. And I think that the big problem with a lot of this is that people often believe that communication is primarily about, you saying something to them to convince them of what you want. And it is true that that is an important element of communication, but communication also goes the other way around as well too, which is to make sure that we are listening and to make sure that we are taking in what our partner says and to make sure that we are understanding where they're coming from. Really making sure that we have clear communication and minimizing misunderstandings between the two of us is going to be absolutely critical in all of this. Now, if you want to look at this in a conceptual way, you can think about this as, there are certain times when we don't understand why our partner says or does certain things, and maybe certain times when they don't understand why we do or say certain things that we might say or do. This then causes a gap in understanding, and it's really common for people to try to fill in this gap by asking themselves, why did they do that? Why did they say that? What are they thinking? What are they doing? What do they want from me, etc.? And this is understandable because we all do want to try to understand why things are happening the way that they are. However, it is not necessarily helpful because this creates the a very high probability that this gap will end up getting filled in with some sort of fear or insecurity or limiting belief or something like that. Like, I knew they're doing that. I knew they're losing interest in me. I knew they're pulling away. They're always doing that. I knew that this is going to happen to me because, I always knew from an early age that I'm not worthy of love. Or I always knew that this was going to happen because, men only want one thing, or women only want one thing, or you can't trust somebody, or you shouldn't ever give your heart over to someone because it's just going to end up getting broken or something like that. And the problem is that when we confirm our beliefs this way, it then sends us on a track of feeling bad, which is obviously not going to help you out, but it also then causes you to behave in ways that reflect that belief. Like if you start to think that your partner is trying to take advantage of you, then you're still going to start to behave in ways like this. Like maybe you'll accuse them of things, maybe you'll be very harsh on them, maybe you'll assume the worst in them, etc. And of course, this is going to have an effect on how the two of you connect and on how the two of you interact with one another in the future. So we want to be careful about this, and we want to try to instead understand through communication. The third important element in this whole process, the third strategy that you can use to reconnect and save a relationship with a stubborn partner, is to make sure that you're building trust. Now, trust is, of course, a critical element in the process of all of this. After all, trust is basically, can I expect a consistent sort of behavior or experience from somebody when I interact with them? Can I trust that you were kind and compassionate yesterday, you're kind and compassionate today, and you're going to be kind and compassionate tomorrow? Or is it going to be a lack of trust where, hey, yesterday you said you understood me, today we had a big blowout fight, tomorrow you're going to threaten to date someone else in order to make me jealous or something like that? That is not the kind of thing that's going to build trust. So trust is a process that happens with consistency as the main factor in all of this. Of course, time is also an important element as well too, but it's really time and consistency that are important elements in trust. And it's also important to understand that as your partner is rebuilding trust with you, they're going to have an emotional experience along the way as well too. That is to say, they're going to sometimes doubt themselves, sometimes open up and want to connect with you. They're going to sometimes be afraid to make a move. And this is going to potentially cause them to do some things that are very confusing, potentially even very frustrating or disappointing for you. This is where you get hot and cold behavior, mixed messages, things like that. This is something that we have all really explained, in my opinion, very, very, very thoroughly in our video on the 5 stages of getting back together. You can go ahead and check that out right up there in the corner. The fourth strategy through all of this is to make sure that you're keeping yourself grounded. Now, of course, everything that we've talked about in this video is pretty, I think, understandable for a lot of people. When I talk to clients, they all seem to understand this stuff pretty intuitively, but it makes it much more challenging when the the rubber meets the road, as they say, and people are going to have to actually figure out a lot of these things and how to navigate through these situations. So you will face unpredictable moments. You will face moments where you have a conversation that you didn't plan on, where you get accused of something, where somebody makes a surprise comment or something that catches you off guard. And in these moments, it's important that you are emotionally grounded, that you know what you want and you know what you're all about. Because if we do allow ourselves to get taken off center, and if we do allow ourselves to get pulled into a highly emotional place where we react out of anger or frustration or hurt or something like that, the chances are very high that we're going to do or say something that we later on regret. And so I don't want that to end up being you. So it's important that you really do what you need to do to keep yourself grounded, to keep yourself centered, to keep yourself emotionally stable, to keep yourself aligned with the kind of person that you want to be and the kind of relationship that you want. This is maybe a little bit feely out there, touchy-feely, but it is equally important. I want to make sure that you do this. And with that being said, the fifth strategy to really save a relationship with a stubborn partner is to know when to strategically polarize. And this is probably the most important strategy that you can have in all of this, because you can follow everything that we've talked about up until this point, and you can probably have some reasonably good results. But I don't want you to end up in this place where you're, kind of in a relationship together. Things are kind of in a good place, but they're not really where you want them to go. Maybe the two of you are texting or talking or seeing each other once in a while or something, but there's no commitment. There's no stable foundation that you're able to stand on or anything like that. So what do you need to do at this point? First of all, understand that if you've put the following 4 strategies in place already, then this strategy should happen naturally and organically. Don't skip those earlier 4 strategies. Those are absolutely important to making sure that all of this works. But if you're at this place where you're in this sort of stuck, plateaued position where you just keep looping around through the same dynamic over and over again, what you want to make sure that you do is you know how to strategically polarize. And I think a lot of people feel compelled at some point in this process to deliver an ultimatum in some form or other. And I want to make it clear that's not what I'm recommending you do. Ultimatums are not very helpful. First of all, because people don't have proper timing when it comes to it. That is to say, they have not gone through these earlier 4 strategies that we've talked about, and instead they just say, hey, I want to find out today if we're going to make this relationship work, so I'm going to drop an ultimatum today. Hey, either we're back together in a loving relationship or we're nothing at all. What's it going to be, Buster? That's like an ultimatum that's not at the right time. But if you do build up the emotional connection, and if you do build up the trust and communication and build up the dynamic of being on the same team, then that would be better timing. But secondly, I think an ultimatum is also not a powerful tool to use as well too, because many times people aren't prepared to deal with the ultimate outcome of that ultimatum. What if they say, hey, I guess we're, not going to get back together, so maybe we're nothing at all at this point. Then you kind of have to follow through on that. I mean, there are things that you can do to recover from that, but it's much more difficult. Instead, what we want to do is polarize in a strategic way. So number 1, the timing is right. We already talked about that. But number 2, the strategy is also right as well too. What do I mean by that? A typical ultimatum has the receiver, the person on the receiving end of that ultimatum, your partner in this case. They'll probably see this as, hey, you are putting me in a difficult place. You are putting a lot of pressure on me. The reason that we're not together is because of you and the pressure that you are putting on me. In other words, you have to bear the responsibility for why the relationship isn't in the state that you want it to be in. And this allows them to look back on this whole scenario and point the finger at you. That's not what you want. Instead, you want them to take ownership of this. You want them to take responsibility of this. You want them to take the feeling that, hey, if I miss you, if I want the connection that we had together, if I want to feel close to you, if I want other sorts of things, then this is really my responsibility. You have behaved like a mature adult. You have behaved like somebody who's trying to make a genuine effort to connect. You have behaved as someone who is doing their best in all of this. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if I'm being honest with myself, I have to bear this burden. And that's important because number 1, if they want to change their mind about things, they feel empowered to do so. But also number 2, if they start to feel guilt about how they left things with you or about how things have unfolded between the two of you, they can then feel motivated and inspired to change things in the future. And if you do want to learn how to get them to do all of this, there's a very, very, very powerful path that you can take right over here. It shows you how to get back together with your ex without using the no contact rule. Again, the no contact rule can be important in some cases, in some instances, but by and large, I don't think most people need to use no contact. So please check out this video over here that will talk you through that strategy. Take care, and I'll see you over there.